So when you first come to the Dharma, one of the pieces of advice you get is to work on the affliction that causes you the most suffering. So when I came to the Abbey, I said, okay, let me go through this list and see which one is what I need to focus on. So there's attachment, there's anger, there's pride, there's doubt and ignorance, and sometimes jealousy is added to this list. And immediately I was like, attachment, that's really what I got to focus on. And I think that's still true. But I also remember at the time thinking, oh, pride, that's like, not even a thing really. I'm so humble. I'm not going to worry about that at all. So that idea seems really hilarious after living here and training at the Abbey for 3 years. Mostly because this place is like a hall of mirrors. It totally shows you your mind, and there's not a whole lot of places to run away from it. And also, the people here are very nice about pointing out things to you, usually with a good intention. And there is one community member who has very kindly pointed out to me a few times to keep my head down when I walk and I talk. So I value that advice, and I'm trying to work on that. So most of my life, I've felt pretty disconnected from people, and I think there's a few different reasons why, but it's become clear to me more and more that arrogance is actually one of these reasons. I guess I still consider myself a triple minority in terms of gender, race, sexuality, so I thought it was kind of impossible for me to be proud, and yeah, I sort of developed this kind of hard shell to be able to withstand any discrimination or insults that I perceived coming my way. And I also focused a lot on my strengths so that I wouldn't have super low self-esteem. That's something that I've also struggled with for a lot of my life. So the official Buddhist definition of pride, or one of them, this comes from Geshe Rabten in Mind and Its Functions, and he calls it self-importance, which I really like because it gets at what's going on there. So he says self-importance is a mental factor that, based upon the view of the transitory collection, apprehending an inherent I or mine, strongly grasps at an inflated or superior image of oneself. And then this is the best part. Self-importance has the function of preventing the attainment of any higher virtues and of causing one to disrespect and look down upon others. Thereby, it leads one to painful and undesirable situations. So this definition makes clear that, like all the other afflictions, the root of pride is this false notion of an inherently existent, separate, autonomous, independent self that doesn't depend on anybody else to survive or any other causes or conditions to keep existing. So pride is not only something that rich and famous or powerful people have to worry about, is something that all sentient beings are going to have to some extent until they attain a direct realization of emptiness on the path of seeing. So during this past Vajrasattva retreat, I focused on purifying acts that I had done under the influence of attachment. But this time it really became clear how much pride had also motivated these actions alongside with that attachment. So for example, when I was looking at stealing, I realized that most of the cases I had stolen was to impress other people. And a lot of the risky sexual behavior also was to fit in with a group of people or to receive attention and praise from other people. And I know now that my most destructive forms of attachment are to like praise, being told I'm beautiful or smart or kind, funny, etc. And I also know I get angriest when I perceive somebody insulting my pride. So basically, I've come from thinking that pride is not a problem at all to saying, wow, this is really dangerous. It's something I need to get working on right away. It's a really big barrier to connecting with other people, being happy with myself, and to understanding the nature of reality. So during the retreat, I also had some time where I was sick, and I sat down to write down a list of all the ways that pride interferes with my Dharma practice, and I thought I could share some of that with you in case it would be helpful. and say that the biggest way that pride has blocked my practice is that it's made me very closed to guidance from my teacher, Venerable Children. My self-centered mind has come up with all kinds of rationalizations as to why I don't need to get close to her, but it all comes down to fear of being criticized. And there's a bunch of other ways too. So I found that pride makes me lazy in my practice and makes me dismiss the foundational practices as unnecessary. When I first came here, I was like, forget prostrations, forget water bowls. I'm doing Mahamudra, I'm doing calm abiding whenever I feel like it, and I'm going to get great results even though I'm extremely miserly and arrogant. Pride interferes with learning new ways of doing things and keeps me stuck in old habits. I've seen this a lot when it comes to offering service, and I'm working with other people who do things differently. And I grudgingly go along, and I'm very resentful. And then I wonder why it's not flowing well. They're kind of not meeting me with a kind, compassionate energy. I'm unable to see anyone else as my teacher, not only Venerable, but the seniors here, because I think I know more than everybody else, and that only I know what's best for me. And this one is difficult, actually, thinking that only I know my mind. I have to discover my own wisdom. And the result is that I haven't exactly followed meditation advice that I've gotten from Venerable Children, which I'm purifying now. And more and more, I realize why you said that. I'm afraid to try out new things because it will shatter the illusion that I'm perfect. So I got this idea to do more artwork, as a spiritual artwork, as a way of stimulating creativity. And the idea of like giving a review on, during the evening classes came up, and I said, no, I can't do that, because then my flaws will be obvious to everybody. Even I won't be able to deny them. I feel cut off from others and not part of the group, mostly because I think other people, what they're doing is not so important. And only I know what's good for me, again, that kind of thinking. This one is pretty disturbing. I'm constantly engaged in pretension and deceit. And as a result, I feel that nobody knows who I really am. So I put on this mask of confidence and calmness when inside I'm really needing some comfort and support very badly. I'm not authentic or accepting of my true self. When these other sides of me emerge, I have despair, and I'm like, oh, this is so horrible. I can't be vulnerable. I can't be hurt. I can't have these irrational emotions, but this is something I need to really accept, and accept that it takes time to transform them. And I miss opportunities to contribute and engage with others that would lead to genuine self-esteem. So again, it's like not getting too involved with other people's projects or what's going on in their lives, thinking that I'm not going to get much out of it. And then I also fail to create the causes for support that I'll need from others in the future. This standoffish attitude, I think it really, I've noticed that I get met with it in turn. It's only natural, but that's not what I want. I really see the value of connecting with other people. You live in a community. And then I can fail to contribute to the creation of a safe, open, and peaceful environment. Personally, I think there's nothing worse than being around an arrogant person. So I certainly don't want to contribute to this. The fact is that pride develops because we're confused about who we are and about how to be happy. In our society, arrogance is often mistaken as a virtue, and the way to get worldly happiness is to look good on the outside, not so much on the inside. So I don't really wonder too much how I've ended up this way. It's also scary to admit that we aren't comfortable with who we are and that we don't know how to ensure our own happiness and well-being. So pride is a great way of pretending that we're okay with who we are and pretending that we're secure. But it ignores the fact that everything we have or everything we know came from somebody else, and that you have to give in order to get. So pride comes down to just ignorance about the self and how the world functions. Now I know that having an arrogant facade is not going to bring the happiness or protection that I seek. So I can finally let go of that and try to embrace interdependence and interconnectedness with other beings and really try to care about them, take real interest in their lives more. Of course, I think this is going to be something to work on for a while because pride is quite a habit. However, doing this analysis, it has really motivated me to see just how many ways it's getting me stuck in places that are painful and just not helpful. So I've concluded that pride is nothing but a heavy sack of unrealistic expectations about us that only weighs us down and harms us in the end. So I encourage you, if you notice any of these things in yourself, to try and let go of pride as much as possible by developing insight into the nature of reality and, of course, putting others before yourself as much as possible.